Namaskar. This is Akhilesh Bhargava. Welcome to tit-bits on business and finance with me. The International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, ICIJ as it is called, is a Washington-based worldwide network of investigative reporters and media organizations. It has been conducting an investigation into the illegally hidden wealth of the rich and the famous through tax havens worldwide. Its 600 journalists and 150 plus member media organizations have been investigating shady offshore financial systems which allow the multinational corporations and the rich to avoid tax and shield their illegal wealth from authorities and regulators worldwide. Its data leak and investigation in 2016 of Mossack Fonseca, a prominent law firm of Panama, had then led to the disclosure of the secret wealth of hundreds of world leaders, powerful politicians, government officials, celebrities, billionaires, religious leaders, and drug dealers whose wealth was secretly stashed in offshore trusts, offshore companies, real estate, and bank accounts, all hidden. Such secret wealth ran into tens of billions of dollars. These disclosures at that time rocked the world, leading to raids and investigation, leading to the framing of new laws by nations to tackle the menace of tax evasion, leading to more information sharing agreements between nations. It led to the naming and shaming of many, and it also led to the downfall and the resignation of the prime ministers of Pakistan and Ireland at that time. It has been 5 years of these sensational disclosures by the ICIJ in what came to be popularly known as the Panama Papers, and now it is back in the news with far bigger disclosures being called the Pandora Papers, a Pandora's box for all those who have been named in it. If in 2016 such disclosures were due to data leak at one law firm, which is Mossack Fonseca of Panama, then this time it involves data leaks at 14 financial services firms in various tax havens like the British Virgin Islands, like Switzerland, Cyprus, Belize, Singapore, Bahamas, etc., all engaged in the shady activity of helping the tax and law evaders to hide their booty. The ICIJ refuses to disclose how it obtained these leak files, but this time it has disclosed almost 3 terabytes of data involving 11.9 million files and records, revealing 29,000 offshore trusts and companies, all of which have been hiding wealth from the regulators worldwide. These files are linked to 35 current and former national leaders, and they involve more than 330 politicians and public officials in 90 territories and nations, with the maximum of them being from the UK, Russia, Argentina, and China. Like in the case of the Panama Papers, the Pandora Papers too reveal the hidden dubious dealings of the elite and the corrupt. Among the global leaders and celebrities whose names have been revealed by the ICIJ this time, they first include Jordan's King Abdullah, who is reported to have amassed $100 million worth of real estate in the US and in the UK through secret companies. His spokesman, however, said that no public monies were involved in these companies. Of course, the companies were not denied. It then includes the Czech Prime Minister, who transferred 22 million through offshore entities to buy an estate at the French Riviera, keeping his ownership a secret. He also denies any wrongdoing at all. It then includes Svetlana Krivonagi, the Russian lady who was in a long secret relationship with Russian President Vladimir Putin and is reported to have borne a child by him. She has said to have bought a multi-million-dollar apartment in Monaco through a hidden offshore company which was formed in the Caribbean island of Tortola, according to these findings in the Pandora Papers. It then includes Pakistan's current finance minister Shaukat Fayaz Ahmad Tareen and his family members. They have been found to own 4 offshore firms for which he also denies any wrongdoing. Very surprisingly, the papers mentioned the US state of South Dakota to be a tax haven in itself, with $360 billion of private assets lying in hidden trusts there. It then mentioned the Azerbaijan President Ilham Aliyev and his family. They have been found to be secretly involved in British property deals worth over $500 million. And the one finally mentioned is the Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta and 6 members of his family. They have been linked to 13 offshore companies, according to the findings of the Pandora Papers. Indians too are a prolific bunch of tax evaders, and the present disclosures mention over 300 Indians having hidden trusts, overseas companies, hidden assets abroad, of which 60 are present and former members of parliament and celebrities, and many of them are on the radar of investigative agencies like the CBI, the Enforcement Directorate, and the SFIO for massive economic crimes committed by them. The list of these famous Indians and their dubious offshore entities includes the first one, Anil Ambani. He, together with his associates, owns 18 offshore entities which own properties around the world, even though he declared himself bankrupt before a London court last year. Anil Ambani's companies have interests in offshore companies at Cyprus, Jersey, and British Virgin Islands, which were set up between 2007 to 2010. And 7 of them are reported to have borrowed and invested about $1.3 billion, which is almost 10,000 crore rupees. His lawyer incidentally denies any wrongdoing by him. The second one is Neera Radia. She figured in the Panama Papers also, and she now figures in the Pandora Papers too, with about a dozen offshore companies set up in tax havens by her, with lots of hidden transactions and wealth therein, as per these findings. It then includes Jackie Shroff as the beneficiary of an undisclosed New Zealand trust, which he says was set up by his late mother-in-law, who was a Belgian national. The trust owns a company at the British Virgin Islands with a Swiss bank account also. And though Jackie Shroff denies any wrongdoing, the fact is that this trust and this company also involves money secretly sent by him from India on various occasions, and that's what we think is the wrongdoing by him. It then involves a Mumbai-based realtor presently in jail. He owes about 88,000 crores to banks. He set up a string of offshore companies in BVI and the Bahamas, with a lot of the bank loans that he took siphoned away overseas. It then mentions the Chandra family of Unitech, who are in jail. They also set up 2 British Virgin Islands companies and an offshore trust after cheating banks in India, and also after cheating the Swiss bank Credit Suisse of $210 million. They've also cheated home buyers, and a lot of this money has been siphoned away abroad in these offshore companies. The next is a Mumbai-based jeweler whose firm has defaulted on bank loans of 500 crores to 19 banks. He set up a web of offshore companies to root out funds in association with a Saudi billionaire who's linked to a Mexican drug lord. And finally, it mentions a trust owned by John Marshall Shaw, a British national and husband of Kiran Mazumdar Shaw of Biocon, with hidden assets of $85 million. She also denies any wrongdoing. The names of the other famous Indians disclosed so far in the Pandora Papers, those who are having hidden overseas companies, trusts and assets, include Vinod Adani, the brother of Gautam Adani, the Sandesharas of Sterling Biotech, the Congress leader Satish Sharma, Sachin Tendulkar, etc. It is a lucrative, massive and powerful worldwide network of banks, law firms, accounting firms and middlemen supported by the governments of these tax havens that has perpetrated this massive global industry of helping tax evaders and criminals to enjoy their ill-gotten booties, hide them and keep them for themselves and their family. The fact is that there is actually never a need to hide your legitimate and legal income and wealth. And when income and wealth is hidden, it is certainly implied that the underlying income and wealth being hidden is of an illegal nature. This kind of wealth, according to us, involves funds of 2 types. One, where the original receipt or transaction that generated the money is not illegal, but it becomes illegal because of tax evasion. if tax was paid on that income, it would have been legitimate money on the radar. The other are receipts which are proceeds of cheating, crime and corruption, which are inherently illegal, which are proceeds of crime, and they cannot be legitimized even by paying taxes. Such proceeds of crime are often hidden in offshore trusts and companies, and of course in Benami assets. These secret funds of crime are often laundered, cleaned, layered, and round-tripped back to India by way of FDI, FPI, etc., by hiding their actual antecedents and owners through such layering and laundering. The growing trend, however, is that instead of leaving these funds in overseas companies owned by attorneys, lawyers, etc., a family relative is settled abroad in order to own and manage their funds away from the clutches not just of the Indian agencies but also of attorneys and lawyers abroad. After the 2016 Panama Papers, the laws of India to tackle such crimes of hidden overseas assets have become significantly more powerful and stronger due to the introduction of the Black Money Act, due to the introduction, strengthening of the Benami Act, and of course, the strengthening of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, of the Income Tax Act, and also making the Enforcement Directorate far more powerful. All these persons named in the Pandora Papers will now be investigated and hopefully charged under these laws, and they can be subjected to multiple penalties and prosecution far exceeding the amount hidden by them. The larger picture is that it is these influential and powerful persons who've got assets overseas who can stop such evasion. But experience says that since they are the culprits in this crime, they are unwilling to do so, and they thus often go relatively scot-free. In the meanwhile, when we talk of India, a high-level multi-agency probe headed by the CBDT chairman himself has been set up in order to investigate and punish all those who have been involved in these mega overseas crimes. We think that even these revelations by Pandora Papers are not the complete story. Tens of millions of dollars have been hidden in this kind of tax evasion, in these kinds of proceeds of crimes for the past many decades. And any amount of evasion is not going to reveal the entire true picture. After all, over decades and decades of these amounts being hidden, they finally assume a legitimate form in most of the territories where they exist. And that's what would make them very difficult to detect and even prosecute. This is Akhilesh Bhargava signing off till we meet again. Namaskar.